Greatness isn't something that is given, it's earned. You must spend countless hours in the gym working out and practicing until you can hardly move anymore. You must be willing to make the plays other people would be afraid to. When the game is on the line, everybody knows who the ball is going to, but it's up to that person to deliver it and bring his team to victory. Great players do not crack under pressure. Instead, they live for the moments that will set apart legends from players. Greatness is Michael Jordan. Today, I would like to explain to you why Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever, and hopefully get you to think the same thing. I'll do this by discussing his amazing accomplishment, then focusing on some of his key moments as an NBA player, and lastly, talking about how he inspired generations of players after him. Now, his amazing accomplishment was that Jordan obtained 1 NCAA title, 6 NBA titles, and 2 Olympic gold medals. He is one of only 7 players to win each of these titles. The other 7 players are Clyde Lovelet, Bill Russell, Casey Jones, Jerry Lucas, Quinn Buckner, and Magic Johnson. Now, every player has at least one defining moment in their career where they score a large margin of points. They have an amazing dunk on a defending player. They play the best defense of their career in one night, or they make a buzzer-beating shot to win a game. But the greatest player can do each one of those things over and over again. Jordan's first defining moment in his NBA career was during his second season in 1986, when he had just recovered from a broken foot in time to play in the playoffs. The Bulls faced the Boston Celtics, which their 1985-1986 team was considered to be one of the best in all of NBA history. And in this game, Jordan scored an astonishing 63 points, which is still an unbroken record in the NBA, in the NBA playoffs. Now, after the game, Larry Bird was interviewed. Larry Bird's the forward for the Boston Celtics, and he said, "I didn't think anyone was capable of doing what Michael has done to us. I think it's just God disguised as Michael Jordan." Another defining moment for Jordan came during the 1988 dunk contest, which is also considered to be the greatest dunk contest in all of NBA history. Jordan won the competition with a dunk jumping from the free throw line, which is 15 feet away from the basket. And while in the air, Jordan pumped the ball behind his ear, spread out his legs, and slammed the ball. There's a picture you could look at, and in the picture, Jordan's midair, about 3 or 4 or 5 feet away from the free throw line already, and his head is equal to the length of the rim. So that's 10 feet up in the air. So him being able to jump that high from that far and dunk the ball scored him a perfect 50 out of 50, and that dunk has become one of the most iconic dunks in all of NBA history. Yet another defining moment in Michael Jordan's career was in Game 5 of the 1989 playoffs between the Bulls and the Cavaliers, when Jordan delivered an amazing moment that simply became known as the shot. Before the shot took place, the Bulls were down by 1 with 3 seconds left. And the Bulls inbounded the ball near half court to Jordan, who was heavily guarded but still managed to dribble to the free throw line. When he got to the free throw line, Jordan jumped up with the defender right in his face, and it almost turned into a slow motion moment when Jordan just stood in the air, let go of the ball, and sunk it. The Bulls won that game because of that shot, and they moved on to the second round of the playoffs. Unfortunately, they didn't win the finals that year. They lost to the Pistons in the third round, and the Pistons ended up winning the whole thing. And also, Jordan, besides the shot, he became known for what is called the layup. The setting for the layup was in Game 2 of the 1991 NBA Finals, where the Bulls took on the Lakers. On a break to the basket, Jordan jumped out, stretched his arm out for a dunk, and in midair decided he was going to switch from his right hand to his left hand and lay the ball into the basket. Now, in a game where there are hundreds of shots, hundreds of layups taken every night, being known for what is simply the shot and the layup is simply amazing. Now, another moment for Jordan came in 1992. Now, Jordan was never known for hitting three-pointers, and he shot a mere 27% from behind the three-point line. But in Game 1 of the 1992 NBA Finals against the Trail Blazers, Michael Jordan hit an incredible 6 three-pointers before halftime. They set the NBA Finals record for most three-pointers in a half and most points scored in a half at 35 points. After sinking the sixth three-point shot, Michael Jordan showed the crowd that even he was surprised by turning around and just smiling and shrugging like this. And that is also one of the most iconic pictures in NBA history. After retiring in 1993, Jordan made a return to the NBA in 1995, and the next year he and the Bulls went on to win 3 more NBA titles. In 1997, Jordan was stricken with the flu and had been bedridden the whole day before Game 5 of the NBA Finals against the Utah Jazz. But on the day of the game during warm-ups, Jordan still seemed very ill, and nobody thought he was going to be able to do anything. He probably would ride the bench all game. Instead, he started, and not only did he start the game, but he scored an astounding 38 points, had 5 assists, and 7 rebounds, leading the Bulls to the victory. Now, what made Michael Jordan great individually was simply that he was the best player. But he balanced that with unbelievable team success. In the 1995-96 season, the Bulls won 72 out of 82 games, giving them a .878 winning percentage, holding the record for most wins in the regular season. And that record is still not broken today, and probably won't ever be broken, simply because coaches down the stretch, if they do have like the top record in the NBA, they're gonna sit most of their star players just so they can save them for the playoffs. Now, after winning the NBA Finals that year, the Bulls had won 87 out of 100 games. Now, because of his success and all his achievements, Michael Jordan, everybody wants to be like Mike. People wear the number 23 on their jersey simply because the greatest basketball player ever donned that number. Michael Jordan was an artist when it came to playing basketball. He could create plays out of ordinary. He could create great plays out of ordinary ones. When the pressure was on, he handled it like it was just another day at the park. Jordan worked hard, hustled hard, and never gave up, which is probably why he became the legendary basketball player we all know today. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player simply because every player to come after him will always be compared to him. And it doesn't matter how amazing they are, whatever their stats are, whatever they do, however many titles they win, it'll always come back to how do they stack up against Jordan. Also, if you would ask any of today's recent players who their favorite player was, they're going to say Michael Jordan. Now today we have taken a look at the key moments that made Michael Jordan an extraordinary athlete and the greatest player of all time. From his 63 points scored against Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics, to his Air Jordan dunk, to his inspiring generations of basketball players after him. Michael Jordan is without a doubt the greatest basketball player of all time. I hope you can now agree with that.
Who's better potential? Name the top 5, but. All right, Jasmine, share your thoughts with us, please.
I think he had a good introduction. The claim and the outline was very obvious and they were very well stated. And his closing was actually as good as his intro. He had 1 citation, which was good, but I think he could have had a couple more since he was naming numbers and stuff like that, you know, a little bit more to back him up. And sometimes it looked like if he was reading on the paper, but then he would like bounce back and he'd get comfortable, and then he started describing like certain shots or like certain moments, he looked more comfortable and more like he was more aware of it. And overall, I thought it was a good speech. It was a very good outline.
All right. I'll agree with most of those things. I did think that the structure got a little bit lost in the first part of what makes up most of the speech, because it just is, and then there's this thing, and then there's this example, and then there's this thing, so you got a whole bunch of events that you're describing, and so it becomes a little bit of a checklist in that process. I got to kick myself a little bit about saying this, because it's one of those things that there are always exceptions that tend to prove the rule. I think you did a good thing here writing out what you were going to say, because the language really enhances the imagery that you're doing when you're talking about this. It sounds good when you're saying it. It sounds like it was thoughtfully written, carefully planned. The language was eloquent, and that works really well, which is all great, except that means that you're writing it out ahead of time, and you don't want to always be able to count on being able to get away with that. Sometimes you need to be able to just talk to people. I thought it worked this time because it really pulls the audience into the stories that you're telling. You're telling the story about the look on Jordan's face and the body movement that he makes after having that incredible first half. You're describing the way he shifted the ball from one hand to the other when he's making that fantastic shot. You go through those things, and they sound joyous when you're talking about them. So that's one of those things that it works really well here. On the other hand, it does mean that I'm noticing that it's planned, and so I don't want to take away from it. I'm just telling you, you got to be careful about doing that. I think you get away with it this time because you need that kind of stuff to sell this type of speech. But in other situations, I don't know that you want to do that. I think it would be something that would be a little bit problematic. I don't encourage people to do these kinds of speeches because it's where people just get. It's like talking about your favorite movie or your favorite TV show or your favorite actor. They're interesting. They can be very inspiring. I don't know how persuasive they end up being, but I'm certainly glad that I heard it. I enjoyed it. I'm still a cream guy, but I'll go with Mike. I understand what you're saying. All right, thank you.